Why So Serious show on BlazeRadioOnline.com.
It is Monday, and it is time for the Why So Serious show. I'm Jesse Morrison, joined alongside Mallory Schnell with special guests Evan Osherwitz and Matt Kling. So, Mallory, we had the last two episodes of The Last Dance last night. I'm so sad that it's over. Luckily, ESPN rolled out the fact that they're doing 4:30 for 30s and back-to-back weeks, so I'm very excited about that. But we got no Max today, no Jeremy, but we're gonna roll with movies with Matt today again.
Movies with Matt. Should I play the sound?
Play the sound.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment. Well, kind of.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
There are no two words in English
Max's favorite
more harmful
movie line
than good job. You'll always have Paris.
Here's Movies with Matt.
Matt.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Matt.
I did not watch a movie this week. I have not sat down and watched a movie since The Greatest Showman.
Last Dance counts.
Yeah, but I will say that the trailer for The King of Staten Island, I know Max hyped it up last week. I'm just going to bounce off his hyping up of it and say that movie actually looks good. You think to yourself, Pete Davidson, the dude from Saturday Night Live who's always freaking high on the show, you think that...
Allegedly.
He probably is.
Allegedly.
He's on something.
He went to rehab for like a month, right?
But, when I saw that trailer, I didn't think that it would be a serious film. And that's what it seems to be. It seems like it's going to be an emotionally connecting film. Now, will I purchase it when it comes out on demand? I don't know. I'm not a big person who likes to purchase movies. I'll purchase a ticket to the movies, but that's it. I will watch movies when they come out on cable. Now, I may watch Joker at some point soon. It's on HBO Now. I have HBO Now. You say don't watch it, Mallory? Why?
Jesse and I have the same opinion, about the Joker. We went in a large group to see it, and Jesse and I were the only ones who didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. I did not like that movie.
You guys remember when we used to go and do things in large groups? Those were fun times. But Matt, I threw it over to you because I thought you were gonna. Matt, I thought you were gonna intro The Last Dance.
I will intro The Last Dance because you can call it a movie, you can call it a TV show, you can call it whatever you want. Just call it The Last Dance. Episodes 9 and 10 last night. Episode 9 focused on a couple different things. One, the big series that the Bulls faced in '98 against the Indiana Pacers. Their only 7-game series of their later title run. They were also retrospecting to the year before when the Bulls were playing the Jazz for the first time in the finals in '97. It was a 6-game series that the Bulls won. That included the infamous flu game, although it was really food poisoning. 5 dudes delivering Jordan a pizza. That was the funniest story of the whole show.
There's a classic story that came out of every single one of these episodes.
Yeah.
The ones off the top of my head, Rodman to Vegas, Rodman just being in general, Rodman going to the WCW.
No, well, that's
I mentioned Rodman in general.
We'll get to that.
Him being criminally underpaid.
Yeah, that's a big story, but it's not as big of a story as just Rodman in general.
Yeah. So it sets up to episode 10, which is the Bulls and Jazz '98 series. They go in depth on almost every game except really game 3, which the Jazz only scored 54 points, the lowest number of points in an NBA game ever.
That's the most impressive performance by a team in a single game in NBA history.
Holding in the 54 points, you mean?
Yeah, it was Malone and Stockton with a whole bunch of other really good players on that team. Who was the former Suns coach that was on that? Jeff Hornacek, really good player.
Legend.
Yeah. So
I'd say Brian Russell, but he's on the list.
The list. And then it came down to game 6, and I'm forgetting the part about you just mentioned, Jesse, about good old Dennis Rodman going to Auburn Hills, Michigan to hang out with Hulk Hogan and Diamond Dallas Page and WWE, getting fined. It wasn't WWE, but it was other professional.
It was what WWE is now. It was WWE.
It's insanity is what it really is.
Yeah,
but
it's amazing.
Comes down to Game 6, back and forth game, one of the best games in NBA history. By the way, it's airing on ESPN on Wednesday night. I doubt I'm going to watch it because there's NASCAR on and the Masked Singer's on. But it comes down to in the past, who has taken the big shots? We saw Steve Kerr do it in '97. We saw Paxson do it in '93. It was Air Jordan's time, and it was probably the biggest shot in Michael Jordan's history with 6 seconds to go, down 1. The jumper was good to take the lead. The Bulls would hang on to beat the Jazz. It would be their 6th title in 8 years, the three-peat of sorts. And then you get into the last part, which is really the political part of the show. I'm not talking about Trump and Obama and all those politicians, but like the politics of the organization.
Hey, Matt, do you still like the libs?
The politics of the organization, Jesse.
Obama is in the doc, though, worth noting.
Obama is in the doc, though,
So is
yes.
Bill Clinton.
So is Bill Clinton. But anyway.
My good friend Bill Clinton.
So
my terrible George W. Bush. But
yeah, the politics of the organization that, Jerry Reinsdorf was willing to keep the team around, was willing to keep Phil around, and Phil chose not to stay because, of course, there's the story of Jerry Krause. And then there was the scene that really was the big talking point after the show, at least on SportsCenter and on ESPN's app, which was the fact that Jerry Reinsdorf called it, quote, suicidal to possibly bring back Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, and Kerr, along with Jackson, try to go for a 7th title. But Jordan said if they got the opportunity, even if it was on a 1-year deal, to get a shot at a 7th title, Jordan said he would have taken it, and everyone else would have taken it.
Except maybe Pippen. He said Pippen would have been hard to convince because it was a contract year, all that stuff. He needed to get paid.
Yeah, but
he did get paid a ton in Portland. Jordan
did not return to Chicago. He wound up taking a 2-year hiatus, becoming a 3-year, what was it, a part owner with the Wizards?
No, he became their GM president of basketball operations, and he drafted Kwame Brown.
And then he played what, a season and a half?
2 seasons.
2 seasons. So that's what
67 and 82 games.
And the last slide of the show, they talked about Pippen was released, Rodman was traded. Or no, Pippen was traded, Rodman was released, Kerr was traded, and then they said the Bulls started their rebuild. And then the general assumption is they've been rebuilding ever since, except, and we were talking about this before we hit record on this Zoom session, the Bulls had some decent years in the turn of the decades, the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Mid 2000s as well. They were solid. They had Heinrich, Luol Deng, all those guys. They were pretty good.
And some of them stuck around. And then when Derrick Rose came out, they were pretty good as well. And of course, Rose won MVP. But the furthest they've been since '98 was the 2011 Conference Finals, which they lost to Mallory's Miami Heat. So it was the first year of the LeBron, Bosh, and Wade teams.
So the Bulls made the playoffs in 04-05. I think that was the first year that they made it since Jordan. Not 100% sure. They were 47-35 that year. Excuse me. Next year they were 41-41. Made the playoffs, lost to the Heat. The year after that, they were 49-33. Won the first round against the Heat, and then lost to the Pistons the second round. The year after that, they'd missed the playoffs. They got Derrick Rose, made the playoffs. Then they made the playoffs again. Then they were really good, won 62 games under Tibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Made it all the way to the
year. Rose
finals.
MVP.
Then the next year they lost in the first round, but they won 50 games in a 66-game season.
And the only reason why they lost in the first round, and I'm not going to say that the Sixers outplayed them, but Derrick Rose tore his ACL at the end of game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one of
They
the-
also, there's an argument to be made. The year they had D Wade and Rondo, they could have won that series against the Celtics in the first round if Rondo hadn't gotten hurt, because they won the first 2
D-Wade
games.
wasn't playing in the first round in that series
or
either.
the 2016-2017 season.
Yeah, they won the first 2 games. Rondo gets injured in game 2, and they lose 4 straight.
In
If he didn't get hurt, you can argue they could have won.
In 2012-2013, they made the playoffs and they beat the Brooklyn Celtics. And
Brooklyn Nets.
No,
the
he
Brooklyn
said that
Celtics.
intentionally because they
Yeah, I
had
know.
KG Pierce. Yeah,
That was like the
get it.
worst. That was like the worst general managing that I've ever seen in my life. Those trades are awful and like ruin the Nets.
But they
Well,
lost.
they got KD and Kyrie, so
Yeah.
it ended up being okay.
They got a couple of head cases that don't play. That's what.
Hold on. Now tell people what happened in 2013-14. Do it with a smile on your face, or do it with a straight face. I don't care.
They lost to the Wizards. Woo-hoo! I remember that series. They looked terrible.
And hold on. And that made me remember, or not remember, but realize that the Wizards actually won a playoff series in the past decade.
They won 2, maybe 3. We just didn't make it to the conference finals, and I did say we, but who cares? They're my Wizards.
You
They don't
guys,
get enough credit.
I mean, you guys lost to the Pacers in the semis. I give you that.
We also lost to I think the Celtics. We were about to go to the conference finals. They beat us like close game 7, if I remember right. We would have played Cleveland. I think we could have beaten that Cleveland team potentially. Unless it was
Before we go
2015,
too
16.
deep into the Wizards rabbit hole, I have a couple things to say about the doc. So, does anyone else think Reggie Miller's kind of a huge clown for what he said about that Pacers team? He said he still thought they were better than the Bulls, and he listed like all these players they had, like Dale Davis, Mark Jackson, Rick Smits, like
All those guys
who
were old.
cares? Yeah, like we get they took him to 7 games, but it seems like Reggie Miller had to go off and make a bunch of threes for them to even have a chance at winning. And if he didn't, they lost. So how can you say that they're better than the Bulls, who are literally the greatest team ever?
Okay, I hate arguments like this because it's just like, could have, should have. Like we don't really know.
Exactly. That's my entire point. He has no argument here. The team, the team for all intents and purposes was Reggie Miller. When he didn't play well, they had no chance at winning. And even when
Rick
he did
Smits
play
was an
well,
all-star that year. Mark Jackson.
what did he do in the playoffs? Did he score?
I don't know.
It didn't look like it in the doc. All I'm saying is, if Reggie didn't go off, make a ton of big shots, they had no chance at winning. And even when he did, they sometimes lost. So he can't say they're better.
Yeah, but
either he's saying that he by himself is better than the Bulls team with Jordan, Pippen, Kukoc, all these guys, or he's capping, or both.
Yeah, but you've got to remember that these guys are competitors. It's like when Paul Pierce said he was better than Dwayne Wade. It's the same argument. It's the same argument here. They all think that they're better than each other. They all think that if that one shot had gone in, that they're all irrational. I've come up with, after watching the NASCAR race and Ryan Newman get back in the car only to wreck again, all of these like pro athletes and extreme sports and non-extreme sports, they're all crazy. So Mallory, put it on the poll. Are all pro athletes crazy?
So he's wrong. Just say it. He's wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong. But like,
he lied through his teeth. He's wrong.
They all think, but they all think that they're better than each other.
He just wants to defend himself, and he had the forum to do so, and he decided to do so. I mean, granted, I mean, I don't necessarily
at the expense of his credibility.
Yeah.
I mean, Reggie Miller as a color commentator is already very suspect, and now I cannot take the guy seriously. I'm sorry.
I like Reggie Miller.
He went off in that series. He did, but they lost and ended up never winning a championship. So I am not going to take his side on this one.
Marv Albert, Reggie Miller here from the
I think it's Marv
Forum.
and Reggie Miller. It's usually hard.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to do my Marv voice. But this takes me to our next topic of conversation. This is my favorite part of the documentary, when they were talking about Brian Russell, I think is how you say it. It was like, it's spelled like BRYON. Brian Russell said that he could take Jordan as like a rookie, or Jordan retired because he was scared of him, or something like that. And Jordan said, yeah, I added him to my list. And I was just like, oh, so Jordan's got a list. That makes sense now. And so I was just going to play a game with you guys. Just going to throw out random 90s players and just people in general that are probably on the list. So Larry Bird, is he on the list?
No.
No.
You don't think Larry Bird was on the
They
list?
have respect for
I think,
each
yeah, you could tell, like, I just finished episode 9 like 15 minutes ago, and like the end of episode 9 was them like being all like nice to each other and joking around. Like, I think they have respect for each other.
But they're still on the list. Like, I think he's still on the list.
Maybe because he was the coach of that Pacers team, but other than that, I can't think of any reason why he would be. And they beat them every time they faced against them in the playoffs. So I don't understand why Jordan would be mad at him.
Yeah, because the Celtics beat the Bulls when Jordan was young.
But that was early.
Yeah, but he made up for that.
Yeah, because he put Larry Bird on the list. All the Celtics.
I don't
think so. Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge.
After talking it out, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
So it's 3 against 1 on this one, Jesse.
So Mallory, tweet it out, put it on the poll. Is Larry Bird on the list?
Okay.
Or on Jordan's list?
The answer is he was on the list but got taken off.
Okay, so temporarily on the list but got taken off.
Yes.
Magic Johnson was on the list. Definitely Magic Johnson's on the list. He had to put him on the list somehow.
I don't know. He didn't play a whole lot in the 90s.
Yeah, but they
90s
played him in the finals, though. He won his first finals. He had to put Magic on the list.
But then they played with each other.
Maybe he was on there at one point, but I think after the guy had to retire because of his health, maybe he took him off. Jordan's not a monster. I don't think he stayed on the list. If the guy's retired, you have to take him off.
All right.
Monsters. The Monstars are on that list.
Mallory, put two more things on the poll here. Are the Monstars from Space Jam on the list, as well
How
as
do you spell that?
It's monster, but with an A.
Monsters with
instead
an
of an E.
Oh.
So Monstars and Magic Johnson, are they on the list? The Bad Boy Pistons, specifically Isaiah Thomas, remain on the list.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
100%.
They will be on that damn list until Michael dies. If Isaiah dies, Michael will still hate his ass and show up to his funeral and say it.
No. If Michael Jordan, if Isaiah Thomas shows up to Michael Jordan's funeral, he'll come back from the dead and chase him out of the church. Mallory, put it on the poll.
I'm still doing the other polls. You got us slow down
her with polls.
All right, we won't put that one on the poll. That's funny though. Reggie Miller on the list, still on the list. 100%,
yeah, he is.
100%.
After what he said to Jordan, that he talked about in the documentary, yeah, he's on there. You don't question the GOAT's abilities. You just don't. And he should have known better.
Brian
You know
Russell.
what I'm referring to, right? Where he was like, oh, you're Michael Jordan, the guy who makes all these shots. Like, you don't seem that good. And then Jordan toasted him in the second half of that game.
LeBradford Smith is on the list.
Yes.
And LeBradford Smith didn't really do anything to get on the list other than have a really good game against Jordan in a game that the Bulls won. Brian Russell is definitely on the list. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's on there.
Let's see if any. Oh, Gary Payton. He won't say it, but on the list.
Yeah. Yep.
Gary Payton's on the list.
Barkley, I think, is on the list.
Barkley's on the list. Barkley's on the list. Barkley got off the list and then back on the list when he said that Jordan was a bad owner or GM or whatever. Mallory, are you tweeting all of these out?
Yeah. I tweeted like 5 polls just now.
Okay, and this is my last one. The 5 pizza delivery guys in Utah are the number 1 people on the list, and those pizza toppings on the pizza are also on the list. The cheese, the bread, the sauce, everything on the list. I wonder what flavor he got that night. Do you think Jordan went pineapple and ham?
I wonder if these people's identities are known, because if they are, then they better watch out.
Yeah. So Last Dance was really good. I thought the final 2 episodes, even though I wish they had touched on something about like the post Last Dance careers a little bit, like it didn't really bother me that much because it was a good way to end.
Before we move on, can we talk about how bad they made Scottie Pippen look? Like,
I mean, they made him
seem like dead weight in the '98 playoffs. He could have literally not played a minute and the Bulls would have won. That's what they made it seem like.
I don't know. I thought toward the end they kind of redeemed Scottie because they're like, man.
Yeah, because he played through the back injury.
Yeah.
But like especially the 2 missed free throws in Game 4 against Indiana. First of all, the look on Jordan's face after he missed the second free throw was hilarious. Like, he wasn't even mad. He was just like, I would have made that. And he's right. He would have. That was hilariously unclutched by Scottie. But yeah, like at some point you gotta chill. Like,
it was LeBron's. It was the same look LeBron gave like J.R. Smith when J.R.
That was like an "I'm gonna kill you after the game" look. This was Jordan just clowning Scottie 100%, which is very on brand for him, and I thought it was really funny. But like, can you think of a player in any other sport that had that bad of a playoffs and their team still won? Like, I'm trying to think of a hockey like parallel there. The closest thing I came up with was Mike Richards for the 2014 Kings. He had 3 goals in 26 games, but he was also like their 4th line center. So I don't think that's really like a fair comparison for Scottie. But yeah, it doesn't happen often. And that really shows how great Michael was, even though he was like very, very much in the twilight of his prime at that point.
Former Washington Cap, Mike Richards.
Yeah, he wasn't terrible with Washington. That one year,
awful.
He wasn't, though. In the playoffs against Philly, he had a decent series, and that was what they brought him on for, was that veteran leadership. But anyway, yeah, Scott wasn't great with playoffs, and it's impressive.
Peyton Manning 2015 Broncos playoffs.
Yeah, that's bad.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But I still don't believe they would have won the Super Bowl if Brock Osweiler was under center.
Oh, I think the Patriots should have won that championship game, and it would have been a Patriots-Panthers Super Bowl, and Tom Brady could have a 7th ring, or Cam Newton could have a ring for all we know. But yeah, that's comparable. That's a comparable athlete.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Cam Newton's awful. He's literally so bad. I'm sorry, and he's brittle and old and sexist, and
I don't agree with that, but we have to move on.
Yeah,
that's not what we're talking about this episode.
All right. Well, NASCAR was back. Boogity, boogity, boogity.
I have to play a sound because, one, I'm a former radio host.
Former,
yes.
You hosted this show enough with us in the past.
Yeah. So here is the greatest now NASCAR is known for having the invocation before the race. So here's the greatest invocation. This is from 2011.
Delivered tonight by Joe Nels, pastor of Family Baptist Church in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the R07 engines. Thank you for Sunoco Racing Fuel and Goodyear tires that bring performance and power to the track. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. My 2 children.
I love this guy.
We like to call them the Little E's. Lord, I pray the drivers that use them tonight, may they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Amen. That is how we felt watching NASCAR yesterday.
100%. That is 100% how we felt yesterday. That is amazing. Is that some like TV pastor?
No, just a random guy from a church in Tennessee.
Which
See,
race is that?
I'm not Christian, so this is
2011
how I imagine like every pastor sounds like.
That is the 2011 nationwide series race. In Nashville. One, it's now called the Xfinity Series, and two, there's no Nashville Super Speedway anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore? I thought they have it still.
Nope, it's not open. They don't race on there.
Oh,
But
okay.
anywho, I caught bits and pieces of the race. Obviously, the opening lap, there was a crash, which I could have predicted.
Yeah, and it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He always wrecks.
Poor dude, poor representation of Kroger, which is a great company.
Yeah, we like Kroger.
Yeah, we all like Kroger. They make fries and Smiths and other great chains around the country. But Jimmy Johnson wrecked early, wrecked in the first stage of the race. Disappointing return for him. Ryan Newman wound up having a wreck. He finished the race, though.
Did he? Oh, I didn't see that.
He finished the race. And then it was really like you either get two NASCAR races. You get the great finish with the overtime and the green, white checker flag finish, or you get the nonchalant. This guy has like a mile lead over the next guy and is going to win. That's kind of what the case was yesterday. Harvick taking the checker flag in the Busch Light Ford, the number 4, beating out Alex Bowman. So good to see NASCAR back, and they'll be back on the track on Wednesday night, which is pretty nice. I know they're trying to cram 36 races in their regular season plus playoffs equal 36 races, and that was just their 5th race. So at least there'll be more season. It'll probably be a safer race, but it'll be a sprint race, essentially. They're only going to race 500 kilometers on Wednesday night compared to it was 400 miles yesterday. So it'll be a faster race.
Oh, it'll be faster? I kind of could have used more yesterday.
I mean,
Like that's what I felt the whole time. I was like, you know what? I could actually use more of this, which normally for NASCAR, I'm like,
Sunday the marathon, the 600.
pardon, what was that?
I said Sunday night is the marathon race of the year, the 600 miles at Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. That's one of my favorites.
I'm disappointed that we're not going to have the 1100 miler, which is with the Indy 500 in the afternoon and the 500 at night.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Indy 500 without fans would be really weird.
Yeah,
I gotta say, like that is made by its fans, like, and how much pomp and circumstance. It's like the Kentucky Derby. It's something that no one cares about anymore. Like, who watches IndyCar?
One day a year. Yeah.
One day a year, people watch IndyCar, and it's that day. And like, you know, I still know the drivers from the year before. Like, I somehow know that those guys are the
Pagenaud and Ryan.
Yeah, like
Castroneves.
Yeah, those guys. Like, and you know, I actually have been to a NASCAR and an IndyCar event, and IndyCar is way more fun. I don't know why it's less popular.
They're small, aerodynamic, like racing vehicles,
and they're fast.
And NASCAR is a bunch of Mustangs and Camaros at this point.
Yeah,
and Camrys.
Like those cars were going 200 miles an hour easily around Phoenix Raceway.
Yeah.
Like but Kevin Harvick, every time that guy wins, he wins by a mile.
Yeah. I liked his post-race interview on Fox. He was saying it's weird that it's dead silent here. Like, yeah. That's when it hit me, when you have someone who is admitting that it's dead silence in the venue, which is going to show how and when sports come back in the coming months is how it's going to be, unfortunately.
I mean, honestly though, if I'm watching on TV, I wouldn't be going to Darlington anyway, because you know it's a NASCAR race in South Carolina and I'm here in Arizona, so I wouldn't be going anyway. So as long as there's cars on the track, sports on television, my eyes are going to be glued to it. You know, I think they should have probably gotten tested instead of just screened before they played. I was a little confused about that.
I mean, I don't want to make a political argument here, but I think what they did was okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
you don't need to get tested unless you're showing symptoms. And I mean, I can make this argument for the sports when they come back in terms of baseball and basketball and even hockey is you need tests for people that are sick. that are showing symptoms. What these athletes should have done is have these symptom checks. They don't need to get mass tested as much as everyone is arguing about. I think what NASCAR did was okay. The product was obviously okay, and they're going to move forward and they're going to accelerate. And they're going to race on Wednesday. They're going to have 2 races in Charlotte next week, and they're going to have a full schedule in June. Like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and it's also not UFC or even baseball or basketball. You're in cars. Yeah, the pit crews, maybe they get tested, but the people in the cars that aren't coming in contact with each other because they're inside of cars, I don't know about that. But all in all, overall, kind of a boring race. But some fireworks at the beginning with the Jimmy Johnson stuff and William Byron stuff. But overall, like it wasn't that exciting. Hopefully Wednesday is a little better. Hopefully this weekend is excellent. Puts on a good show. I just want to be able to watch sports. It's giving me that opportunity. Luckily, I'm not a hater of NASCAR like a lot of people are. So I will find enjoyment in this. I am from Virginia, Southern Virginia, so people like it there. I'm surprised you like it, Matt, because you're from Philly.
Well, I mean, we have the Pocono Raceway, we have Dover, and my aunt and uncle were big NASCAR fans. I mean, I don't think they still are, but they used to go to Richmond to go to races. So
Okay.
And they've been to Charlotte before, so yeah, I wish I could have went. I'll maybe try to go in the fall here in Las Vegas if they allow it. But
Did you not go in Phoenix ever?
nope.
Oh, Phoenix is a great track, and their new renovation is awesome. So I would definitely check that out if I were you at some point. And the way the drivers start is really great there. But we also had charity.
Yeah,
Go
I was
on.
gonna say the golf.
We also had charity golf yesterday. Did y'all watch, Mallory?
No, I don't watch golf.
But it was sports.
Nope.
It was.
I heard of Matt Wolf. I don't know why he was in there some.
Oh, Matthew Wolf is my favorite part of this entire thing.
Why? Because he's like a slugger essentially.
No. Have you seen his swing?
That's what I meant. He's a slugger.
It's so bad. It's like everybody's swing at the Muni. That whole event yesterday was everybody at the local Muni. It was incredible. Like, you had them carrying their own bags, them wearing their shorts, and some guy with a terrible swing. Like, who doesn't, that's everybody basically. If you decide to go out.
Have one of the greatest golfers of this century, Rory McIlroy. You have Dustin Johnson, who is, I would say, one of the best golfers in this century.
Yeah, he'd be a little bit better, if he didn't, dabble in certain things.
And Ricky Fowler is a good golfer as well. I don't understand the skins game at all. I thought it should have just been, for one-on-one best score wins and gets the most money to charity. Like, I didn't like the whole closest to pin, that type of like country club jargon that they decided to play and put on national TV. Don't get me wrong, I've worked at a country club before. I don't necessarily know the jargon, but I know charity golf tournaments, that's what they choose to do.
Mallory,
Yeah.
put it on the poll. Were you upset with the country club jargon in the golf event on NBC yesterday?
I mean, Donald Trump, you could consider as part of that country club jargon. They did a live interview with him.
That was weird.
Bill Murray did a video interview too.
That was also weird.
I did not watch.
Did you see he asked Mike Tirico which charity he was supporting. And Mike Tirico was like, the CDC Foundation. And I was just like, oh, you just dodged that question. I would just say, oh, I'm not going to.
And President Trump obviously turned his interview into like a normal interview he'd have on Fox News. So
yes.
there's that.
I think it's hilarious that he was like featured in the broadcast for this event when Rory McIlroy was openly dissing him earlier this week.
Yeah.
saying he would never play with him again or something like that. I think that was kind of ironic.
Also, him and Tirico played around together one time, and
Yeah.
Tirico, Rick Riley wrote a book about called like the Commander in Cheat, and it's like about how Trump cheats when he plays golf, and like
Tirico said he was a good putter.
yeah, Tirico said he was a good putter, but he also in Rick Riley's book like said something like Trump like fixed his scores or something, and so that they were better or something like that. I don't know the full story, so don't quote me on it. But he was critical of Trump's round in that particular circumstance.
So, pawning off of that, will you watch Phil and Tiger and
100%.
Brady on Sunday?
100%.
I honestly might. I love Tiger Woods.
It's Brady versus Manning that I care about.
Well,
Playing
Tiger
golf.
and Phil.
Yeah, and Tiger and Phil, but Tiger and Phil are moderately washed. Not Tiger as much, but Phil is washed.
I don't know. I think last year's Masters was probably the last time we're going to see Tiger do what he was able to do in a major tournament. So, I'm probably going to reserve myself and just wait till NASCAR comes on Sunday. My favorite tournament of the year is the U.S. Open, and I
hate the U.S. Open.
I love the U.S. Open.
I don't want to see just turn on TV and watch bad golf, because that's what it is. It's like they make the course so hard that it's just people in the rough just trying to hack it out.
But would you rather watch a Sunday, the Sunday of the PGA Tour, when the winner is shooting 23 under for the weekend?
No, I'm a moderate in sports. Like, I don't like super high scoring, but I also don't like super low scoring. Like for football, I like a good 28-24 game. For baseball, I like 5-3.
Solid.
For basketball, I like in the hundreds, not in the 120s or 130s.
Triples.
What'd you say?
You don't like a 96-54 game in the NBA Finals?
No, not particularly. Even though that's quite the amazing game right there.
A 4-2 or 4-3 hockey game too would be.
Yeah, that's good. Like I don't want an Islanders Penguins, not an Islanders Penguins, a Flyers Penguins series where this final score is 9-8.
Oh, touchdowns were being scored that one year. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was amazing, bro.
I turned on SportsCenter and I was just like, what?
Oh, that was amazing. I love that series. That might be my favorite playoff series ever, honestly. It was a throwback. 80s hockey, old school hockey. I love that.
But anyway,
speaking of 80s hockey, sorry to interrupt you, Matt.
I'm done anyway, but go ahead, talk your 80s hockey.
We are going to relive the 1983 New York Islanders four-peat with someone who wasn't alive for 17 more years. 19-year-old Evan Osherwitz. Have the floor to talk about the 1983 New York Islanders four-peat.
Well, for starters, they're one of the greatest teams ever. 4 straight cups. The Habs have done that 3 separate times. No one ever talks about that, but that's beside the point. They invented the tradition of the playoff beard. I don't think a lot of people know that. They had a ton of Hall of Famers. Obviously, Mike Bossy is the one that's probably the most well-known. Guy who probably would have scored 1,000 goals if not for some suspect knees. And a guy by the name of Dennis Potvin, who despite being a pretty bad color commentator is one of the best defensemen ever. Definite Hall of Famer. They were really deep. They had Trottier, 500-goal scorer, some big boys, Clark Gillies, Brett Sutter, to name a few, Billy Smith in net, probably the meanest goalie of all time. And they could have won a 5th straight, but this guy named Gretzky came along and had to ruin everything. And I think ESPN should make a doc about one of those 80s dynasties at some point in the near future, because there's definitely some pretty cool stories to be told there, even if they're not as widely known as some of the stuff that went on with those Bulls teams. You could honestly take your pick between those Isles teams or the Oilers that came later, because they had some characters on them for sure.
I definitely think they would do a Gretzky one. However, one of the best 30 for 30s is the Gretzky trade to LA.
That was the first one. That was the first 30 for
Was
30.
it? Okay, I didn't realize that. That's a really good 30 for 30. And I think it's cool to look back at that because without that trade ruined Gretzky's winning opportunities, kind of, sort of. But it was huge for hockey in general, and like if that hadn't happened, there wouldn't be all these Southern Hemisphere teams like
Hockey in the Deep
Mallory's
South would not exist.
The Tampa Bay
basically.
Lightning.
You're spot
Mallory's
on there.
Mallory's team, the Florida Panthers.
I mean, I think they touched on this in the 30 for 30, but the summer before he came to LA, or the summer he came to LA, they went on this like nationwide tour where they were playing exhibition games in like 30 cities to go and like promote the game, grow the game. And that's why during the 90s, they ended up expanding to a lot of those cities. It all started with Wayne going there and showing everybody what he could do. And honestly, it wasn't as much of a trade as it was a sale. I mean, the best thing they got back for Wayne was the $15 million that went straight into Peter Pocklington's pocket. But
And they've been terrible since.
I wouldn't call them terrible.
I mean, yeah, I
they
guess they went to the
playoffs
Cup.
now.
They went to the Hurricanes Oilers Stanley Cup. Great for
They
ratings.
would have won if their goalie hadn't gotten hurt. But there's a comparison to be drawn between those teams and the Bulls of the 90s because, like, everyone likes to make a big deal about how Chicago hasn't been the same since Jordan left. Edmonton hasn't done a whole lot since they won their last cup in 1990 either. So, like, usually when you have a dynasty, what comes after is not very pleasant, and those two teams kind of prove it.
I mean, Gretzky's also the Jordan of hockey. Gretzky's on the Mount Rushmore for professional sports.
Is he or is Jordan the Gretzky of basketball? Because that's how I like.
But I don't know. He's more championships, and
Gretzky came first, guys.
yeah, but Gretzky could have won more. And I would go my Mount Rushmore of sports would be Babe Ruth for baseball, Gretzky for hockey, Jordan for basketball, and either Jerry Rice or Brady for football, because Jerry Rice is considered the greatest player of all time among most people, but the best quarterback of all time, which is the most important position, is Brady. So I don't know. We could go on and on about that, but I hate those kind of arguments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to know.
Back to the Isles, though. Gretzky has always said that those teams taught the Oilers how to win because when they lost to them in '83, they went into their locker room and saw how like bruised up, banged up the Isles players were, and the Oilers were just fresh because they didn't play a gritty game at that time. So those teams, without them, there probably wouldn't have been the Oilers dynasty either. So we owe them a lot, in other words.
I got a question though about these Islanders teams. Where was the drama? Like what was the interesting thing about them that was like did they have a Rodman kind of type that would do stuff like go off and not take the finals seriously or whatever you want to say about it or go fight in the WCW or something? Was there any crazy stuff going on other than playoff beards, which is interesting enough in itself?
Well, you know how hockey is. Like, a lot of stuff gets kept behind closed doors, but they definitely had some characters on that team. I mean, Billy Smith is a goalie who would just, like, take wild swings at the back of people's legs if they got too close to his crease. They had Clark Gillies, who was an absolute murderer out there. A bunch of guys who could drop the mitts. Potvin, I mean, how do I put this? The guy likes to have fun, if certain rumors I've heard are true. So I assume there's some good stories there. And it was the 1980s in the NHL. Like guys were crazier than they are now. There's definitely some stories to be told with those teams.
Oh, I would have been a way bigger hockey fan if I'd grown up in the 80s or 90s because the 80s and the 90s had like some great stuff going on. However, my team was pretty awful before Ovechkin. That's why they had Ovechkin.
Dummied by the Islanders in all of those playoffs. First round, it was always Isles Penguins, Isles Caps, Isles Flyers, and yeah, they always won because they were that good. They won 19 straight playoff series, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're the greatest team of all. Like, is that considered the greatest run in hockey history?
No, because the Oilers would have won 5 straight years if Steve Smith hadn't put the puck in his own net against Calgary. They won 4 out of 5. My Habs won in 86 because of that goal. You can watch the video. It's basically he's behind his own goal line, goes to play the puck, and shoots it into his own net off the goalie's ankle, basically. And that's why they didn't win that year. But they won the 2 years before that and the 2 years after. So I think most
so they didn't win 4 in a row?
Hmm?
They didn't win 4 in a row?
They won 4 out of 5.
Oh, I thought they forfeited. That's my bad. But did the goalie wear a Jason mask?
No, but he did have a pretty gnarly mask by today's standards. It was just like one of the old like full cages. It was not the Jacques Plante mask, unfortunately. But Grant Fuhr, yeah, interesting guy for sure. It like if you were to make an Oilers doc, there would be a lot of pretty interesting Grant Fuhr stories.
They should do it. If ESPN doesn't do it, they should do like, at least a 2-parter on NHL Network. I think that'd be a good one. Or TSN. Why don't they do it? Why don't they do it on TSN and then we can watch it somehow?
Have you seen Grant Fuhr's Twitter?
No.
All he does is like roast haters 24/7. He did like an open Q&A a couple weeks ago, and someone was asking about like his substance abuse issues, but like in a very condescending and not okay way. And he kind of roasted the guy. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I guess now that he's retired, he doesn't have a whole lot to do, so he's just on Twitter 24/7.
The haters motivate me, so I respect.
Are you comparing
I
yourself
wouldn't be
to
here
Grant
today.
Fuhr?
It wouldn't be here today without the haters.
Yep.
Hashtag ball out. I've seen that. Have y'all seen those like football player tweets that are like, especially from ASU players that are like, forks up, devil emoji, fire emoji. I'm God's gift to mankind. I'm gonna work hard this year. Forks up, go Devils. What?
Do we move on to the next segment?
Yes. What are we doing?
I think we've exhausted this portion of the show.
Mallory, play it.
What are we doing?
Yes.
What are we doing?
My Google Drive. Okay.
All right. I'm going first, I guess. Okay. Mine is that the NFL in 2020 is still extremely racist. They're racist enough to where they're now putting incentives to teams to hire minority candidates.
Interview minority candidates.
Pardon?
Not just to hire minority candidates, to interview them.
Yes, to interview them. They might give teams higher draft picks. That's so bad. They should just be able to realize that, we should practice diversity instead of having to have a reward for it. That's like a bad little kid that can't be nice to the kids at school. So you're like, as a parent, you're like, I'll give you a cookie if you don't beat up Johnny today. Like, it's absolutely atrocious. The NFL can go away and
Whoa.
I'm just kidding. I love the NFL, but like, there's a lot of problems there. There's a lot of problems there. I could get into like, they have like 3 different levels of problems at least. They're the most problematic, but also the most popular sports league. It doesn't make any sense to me. You've got CTE. You've got the fact that their contracts aren't guaranteed for the most dangerous sport. You've got the whole racism thing. You've got the team that's named the Redskins.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything else? Oh, domestic violence.
Oh.
Huge problem all across the board.
I
You're
wanted
getting
to
into some
go-
really
go
controversial
there.
stuff here.
They allow for a team in Philly.
Excuse me. They allow for 2 teams in New York, and for some god-awful reason, 2 teams in Los Angeles now.
They like money. that's
Sorry,
why.
there's one team in New York, and that's the Buffalo Bills. The other ones play in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yep.
They might as well just be the Newark Giants. Newark, not New York.
It sounds almost the same.
Yeah.
Jets.
What's
Also-
the difference?
Great. Whichever came first, like if you're ever in downtown Newark, you see downtown Manhattan from across the way. So it's literally like Newark, New York. Like, it's not very original. But yeah, I'm all for a team that plays at Yankee Stadium that's new and an expansion team. It would never happen, but it'd be a good thought. All right, that's my what are we doing? We rambled on way too far.
I
Mallory.
guess. Oh, okay. I thought I was going.
He's barely said anything today.
True.
I didn't watch NASCAR or golf.
Yeah.
My what are we doing is the rapper 6ix9ine, because he went on a little rant today and accused just Ariana Grande, not Justin Bieber, only Ariana Grande, of like cheating to get a number one and like paying and using 6 credit cards to pay her way to number one. First of all, that's extremely sexist of him just to accuse Ariana Grande when it's an Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber song. Second of all, Ariana Grande doesn't care about getting number ones. She said that multiple times. She had no reason to pay. And third of all, no one should be supporting this 6ix9ine rapper anyway. He doesn't deserve a number one. You know, he can go back to jail.
Okay, so that was gonna be my what are we doing? I have strong opinions about this as well. I'll defer to you because I know how much you love Ariana, but my gosh, 6ix9ine is delusional. This was after he released a video on his Instagram Live claiming that Billboard rigs their charts. The word he used was manipulated, I think, but he was basically saying they rigged the charts.
All right.
Wait, no, I'm not done. I'm gonna talk for 10 more minutes. Okay, so he, as evidence, he like showed the viewers this thing that Billboard posted on their Twitter where they were encouraging people to buy Bieber and Ariana's single, which is way better than 6ix9ine's song, by the way. I don't know if y'all have heard Gooba, but it's trash. It does not deserve to be number one or anywhere near number one. Really.
I know by him.
I haven't heard JB and Ariana's song, but it has to be better than Gooba. Anyway, he is saying that Billboard was like scream over basically by like asking people to buy Stuck With You instead of his song. Said that it just in like the span of an hour went from number 5 to number 1, which is not true. So basically my man is just salty. His song isn't number 1 right after he got out of jail. And he's been like in the news a lot lately for beefing with like a ton of different people. Like Snoop Dogg is on him, a bunch of other rappers on him. He's just begging for attention at this point, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, because he's irrelevant. His music sucks. And the only song that I know by him is the one with Nicki Minaj, where it's like
Yeah. And that song is also trash. I don't know a single 6ix9ine song that I would consider good that I listen to like, on the regular.
Nicki Minaj is amazing on that song. I'm not gonna lie. Like when she comes,
but that says it all right there. If Nicki is the one like stealing the show, you know you got a pretty bad song on hands.
Since when is it news to 6ix9ine that Billboard rigs their charts? Like that's
but they don't.
They rigged the okay.
Scooter Braun said that it was strategy that they didn't release their numbers till like closer to like when the charts were updated.
Well,
I know they rigged the charts around Christmas time because they had to put freaking Mariah Carey at the top of the list.
Well,
that's fishy. But here's the thing: he would have an argument if his song was good, but it's not. It sucks. It is terrible, and that discredits him.
He's going against the number 1 pop female, collaborating with the number 1 pop male in the world, and he thinks that he has a shot at number 1.
That's another thing. This is 6ix9ine we're talking about. Like the dude already has no credibility. He's been outed as a snitch. Like that's why he's out of jail, because he ratted on a bunch of people. Everybody knows that, and now he's like doing this and like beefing with Snoop Dogg. Like come on.
I'm fine with people snitching on drug dealers, in my opinion.
I'm not gonna sit here and defend this 6ix9ine guy, but the Billboard chart is just, I don't understand how these songs get to number 1. Like The Box by Roddy Ricch spent 11 weeks at number 1. The song that got its popularity from freaking TikTok has so far this year been at number 1 for 11 weeks. Blinding Lights is a good song. 4 weeks at number 1. The Tootsie Slide, which is
Fire.
kind of cheesy. Again,
Fire.
TikTok made it popular 1 week at number 1. The Scotts, which I never heard of, Travis Scott and Kid Cudi, for some reason got a week at number 1. Say So, great song by Doja Cat. But it had to be with Nicki Minaj, number 1 last week. This week,
She retired to have kids.
Who? Nicki?
No, she just needed to take a break, but she's Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, but first off, why does it have to have Nicki Minaj on it to be a number 1 song? I would argue that the Doja Cat without Nicki would be the number 1 song. Just like Despacito didn't need Justin Bieber to be the number 1 song in the world. They had to credit Bieber. They had to credit Bieber to make him number 1. It's a lot better without Bieber, that song.
Okay, well,
completely in Spanish, but it's a great song.
Here's the thing, though. Roddy Ricch wasn't like that big a deal before that album came out, before the box came out. So he really made it to the top by himself, and it was there for months on end. Like, yeah, there's a TikTok dance for that song, but it was already really, really big before that happened. So you don't have to just blow up on TikTok to get to number 1.
Okay,
you
well,
can be a really good musician and get there that way.
But
Yeah, Up to You by Ariana and Justin did not blow up on TikTok and still got to number 1.
Yeah, but I'm
those are
quickly
two,
gonna
like,
look at
really
the last
big
decade and
things,
tell
though.
you songs that blew up overnight in internet form. The Harlem Shake is a number 1 song. Like it spent 5 weeks at number 1, and like that song is just awful.
We should make a Harlem Shake video.
Oh God.
It was in an attempted one that didn't go well. I don't remember. I was in a bunch of those.
Nothing will top the Miami Heat's Harlem Shake.
That was great.
Hold on. Triple Extension's Sad hit number 1 after he died.
Did you call him Triple Extension?
I don't know what.
I was gonna correct him, but then I just decided it. That's not fine. It's XXX Tentacion.
Tears.
Oh my gosh.
Like I don't like to rag on the dead, but it's a really bad rap name.
Hold on. In My Feelings by Drake was number 1 for 10 weeks. Song that popped because of the online dance.
Drake just knows how to make hits, man.
So I got a fact for you guys. I'm pulling it up here, but this was on it wasn't on the overall bill. I think it was a number 1 on the overall Billboard chart as well, but it was a number 1 on the country chart as well. But I believe Meant to Be by BB Rexa and Florida Georgia Line was number 1 on the country chart for, let's see.
Yeah.
It was
like a year.
50 weeks. That's almost a year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, okay, so the Billboard chart isn't rigged, but like the labels and the radio stations are in cohorts to play certain songs. That's why certain artists, might be really popular, but like, and certain artists might not be as popular, but like some artist has a bunch of number 1s and you're like, I didn't realize that artist had that many number 1s. That's because they have a good label behind them.
Look, I'm going to be real with you for a second. I'm an avid radio listener. Like, and I'm not talking about hip-hop radio, country radio. I listen to the adult contemporary stuff.
So like John Mayer radio?
I listen to The Blend on Sirius XM. And it's a great station, though. But you hear, I mean...
Some Nora Jones?
Well, like, just some of the artists that are on these that get the airplay that you wouldn't think that you would hear in 2020 on the radio. Like, there's this song called Another One Down. It's by Richard Marx, the guy who was a hit maker in the 80s. Like, you can turn on the Delilah Show at night and hear this Richard Marx song.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's kind of catchy.
The Delilah Show is the worst.
I love it. I love Delilah.
Sappy love songs after. It's what the contestants on The Bachelor would listen to. Are we done with our What Are We Doing?
I didn't get to mine yet.
And neither has Klinger.
So Kevin, do yours.
Okay, so I was gonna do 6ix9ine as well because he's been wilding out lately. He was also beefing with Rich the Kid. His baby mama was photographed with Rich doing a music video. So 6ix9ine is I don't know, he's clowning right now. But
Somebody had a kid with 6ix9ine.
because Mallory took that one, and rightfully so. She's a big Ariana fan. I'm gonna have to go with my second straight Washington Capitals related. What are we doing? Because Radko Gudas, despite being on a contending team, thinks the NHL should cancel the season straight up. No like play-in scenario, which is what they're discussing right now. 24-team playoff. He's like, no, I'm good here at my home in the Czech Republic. I'm just chilling.
Who is that
You don't-
player?
Jesse, you're a fake Caps fan.
No, I'm just like
Former Flyer.
is he any
Okay,
good?
Radko Gudas is number 3 on the Capitals. He's a defenseman, usually third pairing, penalty kill occasionally,
He's
big
trash.
beard, kind of looks like a lumberjack, is often in trouble with the Department of Player Safety for various things. He once swung a stick at a guy's head. He does stuff like this on the regular. But my main thing here is he's on a contending team, a team that has a decent chance to win the Stanley Cup. They were buyers at the deadline. They went out and got Kovalchuk. They went out and got Brendan Dillon. They didn't do that so Radko Gudas could sit on his ass in the Czech Republic and chop wood. They did it so they could go and win the cup. And this man is here saying, you know what? Everything we've done this year, I don't really care about that. I'm just trying to, eat some food, sit back, watch Tiger King or whatever, and I'm fine with that. That's not how it works, buddy.
We should cut him.
You've played 69 games already. You didn't do that so you could just go home right when the playoffs are about to start and not play hockey.
We should
So
cut him.
I just think it's a little bit selfish from him, and I think his teammates should be a little upset that he feels that way. Even if he does, he's allowed to have that opinion, but you shouldn't go out and say that, especially now when they're talking about ways that they could still resume the season. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Again, we should cut him because number one,
I'm not saying cut him. Don't cut Radko.
he must not be relevant enough because he's on my favorite team and I don't know who he is.
He's new. Y'all just signed him.
Hockey.
Y'all just signed him. But he's
not.
a decent enough player. He's just wrong about this. Don't cut him. Please. But he
You
needs
guys
to
hear
rise
that?
up a little bit.
Yeah, I hear that echo.
Okay.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Is it my turn for what are we doing?
Yeah, it's
DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar. What in the hell are you doing?
What about
From
Cody Latimer?
The age of social distancing.
Oh, it's you, Jesse.
You're
DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar. That story sounds like the plot line of The Sopranos. They go to a party, they lose 70 grand gambling, and then the next night they show up and steal 70 grand plus a bunch of watches. They bring guns with them. It was just, ugh, what are you doing, people? That is why the NFL, I'm not going to say that's why the NFL has so many problems, but that's just straight dumbness out of, I can't even. I when I heard the story that it was related to gambling, I laughed because that's, like I said, just sounds like a script straight out of The Sopranos. It was terrible. What are we doing, guys?
I think you might be confused a little bit. I
Why?
think it was Cody Latimer, and they were at a party.
No, it's two separate things. He's right,
No,
but
Baker
there's
and Dunbar were at a party.
yeah, no, you're
Here,
right.
Mark.
Tony. But there's twists and turns to this because their lawyers both say they have 10 witnesses each that say they weren't involved. They both turn themselves in, but they're still claiming they're innocent, and they have witnesses who say they weren't involved in this armed robbery. So it's really weird. I honestly don't know who's telling the truth, but it's not a great look for either of them. Even if they didn't do it, the fact that they're implicated in any of this is pretty bad. But Cody Latimer, what he did is way more roastable than this. I can logically kind of get this. You lose 70 grand playing poker. It is what it is. You come back to
fired gunshots at your friend, right? That's what he did, right?
Yeah, I'm not talking about Cody. That's not okay.
Cody shot someone in a poker game.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about DeAndre and Quentin. They lost a big chunk of money, good chunk of money. So they came back to try and recoup it. It wasn't through the best means. Holding your friends at gunpoint is generally frowned upon, but at least that makes sense. Like, Cody Latimer is wild in here. He shot his friend, man. Like, you can't do that. Cannot do that.
The Redskins.
Not that I'm advocating armed robbery either, by the way. That wasn't cool either. But there's some gray area, at least with that case. Like, Cody Latimer has absolutely, like, no argument here.
I mean, look, I don't know, maybe I watched too many episodes of Sopranos. I'm still not done. But, I mean, just looking at that, at that story, too, like, that sounds like a plot line of a Sopranos episode. So, I mean, come on, this is the real world. This isn't fiction. What are you doing?
I love how they took the watches too. Like, the 70 grand.
What?
70
Why?
grand wasn't enough. Like, no, they're like, okay, so we're getting even with you. That's all well and good, but that's not good enough because you beat us in poker. We're going to take your like 30K a piece watches too. Like, I don't know what their plan was with that, just to like wear them or maybe like resell them on the black market.
Yeah.
But
I want more thing. People that buy and wear $25,000 watches. I'm sorry. What are you doing?
Got your phone for time. Like, watches are like, I want a Rolex just because I think they're cool, but like, you don't really need a watch anymore in 2020. You got your phone.
I agree with that. I don't wear a watch, but I honestly think it's a clout thing. Like, they don't need it to tell the time. They need it to show off all their like diamonds and stuff that they have in the watch. I think that's
you get a giant chain with a big clock on it. Like,
you might as well just have a sign on your shirt that says "Rob me" at that point. Like, a watch is slightly more low key, but people will still get the point, And it can go well with certain outfits as well, especially if the diamonds, are really shiny. So I get that, but yeah, practically it really doesn't serve much of a purpose. It's more just a way of flexing.
Flavor Flav has downgraded to a smaller clock. It's more of a contemporary clock. It's not as 1980s. It's not big bling going on. It's just, it's a nice looking clock there that he wears around. I bet he needs to see a chiropractor because of the neck pain. Mallory, put it on the poll. Does Flavor Flav need to go to a chiropractor because of carrying a clock around in his neck for 30 years?
You are goofy.
Maybe also do a poll asking people if DeAndre and Quentin are innocent, because that's honestly like not known at this point.
Not one of our polls there, my friend. Our polls are
don't get in. I mean, if you're gonna ask that, ask if the guys who shot Ahmaud Arbery are innocent.
No. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
Like, I know.
This part out of the show. We will definitely cut this part out of the show.
I'm just curious to see what people think, honestly. Because I don't know who to believe in this situation. On one hand, you've got eyewitnesses who say they didn't do it. On the other, they've turned themselves in. So, it's tough to tell.
Yeah, we're gonna avoid that poll though. Just saying.
It's also Florida. I'll end it at that.
Florida man. Matt, are you lying down?
Me? Yes,
yeah.
I am.
Florida man? What about the Florida woman that we were talking about?
How about just Florida, period?
Florida.
That should be a poll.
It's nice. It's sunny. There's a lot of
Florida.
Beaches. It's a great place. There's nothing that ever happens.
No. Put it on the poll. Florida. Yes or no?
Yes.
Just Florida.
Florida. There we go. Okay.
Do you have a positive or negative connotation of Florida?
Florida woman turns into a cat.
Yeah, Mallory's sleep schedule is so bad these days that she just sleeps like for 3 hours here and there, and she likes to do the cat dance on Fortnite, and so I think that she's just turning into a cat. Mallory, put that on the poll. Is Mallory still a cat?
No, I'm not putting that on the poll.
No.
Okay, but Bachelor recap or Listen to Your Heart. This episode of Listen to Your Heart tonight, I'm just going to get my thoughts out right away before we go into the recap. This episode of Listen to Your Heart, the finale, literally was boring. I did not like it. I did not like it. It was like the finale of, not that the finale of The Bachelor was boring, but it was like, okay, I need a break from this stuff because, I get that break because June 8th is, almost is like 20 days away, something like that.
The
So
apparent 3 hour a night season in an evening episodes.
so excited.
I'm excited for Jesse to see that because he claims he knows so much about Bachelor history, and now he'll actually know.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too because I don't know anything about
I hope
Bachelor history.
I hope they get to Juan Pablo's season like right in the beginning because Mallory says that was atrocious.
Oh my gosh, he was so
They're
bad.
only going to put the best ones on. Like, I doubt we're going to see Pilot Pete again, unless
No,
it's
they're
from.
not. They're not showing Pilot Pete. They're not showing Hannah. They're not showing
Good.
Becca or Ari. They're not showing
I'm
any
not
of those.
showing Ari. Ari's season was so bad.
What about the guy or Colton? Colton, the one who jumped the fence.
I don't think
And
they're
make-
showing his season either because he kind of
That
like
was-
went against producers' wishes and just did whatever he wanted, and like ended the show early to chase this one girl. But it worked out.
But-
They were together.
I respect the shit out of that. Those,
Yeah.
like, honestly, I think it should be a little bit more organic. I don't like the fact that the producers have so much input. It would be a
Yeah.
lot more entertaining without them.
Yeah,
Can I say
Right?
that,
Not like
The producers got so okay. The producer, Mallory, read your recap, and then I've got and then I'm gonna stop you at certain points to tell you when the producers were meddling in this situation.
I'm
I'll
not
tell
get too
you
much
when they
against the
were.
producers because I do have a producer friend for this show. So we
Well,
don't
I mean,
get
I'm
too
not naming.
against the producers.
I'm not naming names.
So Chris Harrison. Okay, Chris Harrison says it's fantasy week.
Baby.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Okay. Matt, they go to Nashville. Matt wants to talk to Rudy after they get their assignments. Rudy's freaking out. Matt breaks up with Rudy. This is, okay, and I'll get to the producer stuff here. This is the part where the producers did kind of like cause this to happen, because if there wasn't so much pressure for them to like already be in love and all this, then Matt would have stayed, because Matt really likes Rudy and liked performing with Rudy, but there was so much pressure for them to be like in love at this point that he had to like call things off.
Well, it was weird how last week they got an extra night where we will assume that they babyed in a random hotel in the middle of the California desert on their way to Vegas. Like, you would think maybe that they are falling for each other. We're probably out seeing Chris all season long. So the fact that they were not necessarily a real couple and that they were fighting over faking love on stage was kind of a, I wouldn't say surprise to me, but I just thought that it was overblown. And I kind of agreed with Rudy to the fact that if we were going to break up, why didn't we just break up in Vegas? And like, why we have to do it here? Like that
Yeah,
was...
because it was kind of unfair that Natasha and Ryan had to go home last week then. If
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a terrible performance last week, but congratulations to our third place couple, Rudy, who looks like someone who can spontaneously bust into singing "These Boots Are Made for Walking" on an open mic night during a dead period of the evening, and Matt, who looks like a model for Old Navy.
Yes. Jamie can't. It's time for Jamie and Trevor's date. She can't imagine life without Trevor. Fantasy sweet letter. They're excited. Trevor feels like he's already won because he has Jamie by his side. And I think that the fantasy suite was like a turning point for Jamie and Trevor. They woke up that next morning and their relationship like went up like 5 levels. Like their chemistry was like way better. Their performance was better.
Yeah.
Their breakfast scene was interesting. The donut thing, they were feeding each other food. It was,
Why did they finally let them eat on The Bachelor this season, or The Bachelor Listen to Your Heart?
They did not show them rehearsing, which they did Bree and Chris. But what happened with Bree and Chris, Mallory?
So Chris and Bree's date. This was kind of a weird date for Chris and Bree. Chris was very respectful of Bree's wishes for not wanting to go to the fantasy suite. They both agreed that they've like rushed in previous relationships and they wanted to take it slow. Everything was fine, but then like the next day at rehearsals, it was kind of awkward for some reason.
I'll tell you what happened and how the producers meddled in this certain situation. So, Bree and Chris the night before, they were on perfectly fine terms. This is what they wanted. Like this, they wanted to take it slow. Like I totally understand that. I think they understood that. They had that understanding. And then they were struggling to learn a song that they were working on for the first time, which any musician does. You can name the greatest musician in the world, Freddie Mercury, probably struggled, with Bohemian Rhapsody the first time he was figuring it out.
And that song is a hard song too.
Yeah.
Like the song they sang, Bob Dylan, Garth Brooks, Billy Joel, Adele have all released that song.
Yeah.
Make You Feel My Love, which is a really good song. I listened to the Garth Brooks version during a commercial break. It's a really nice. It's a first dance song in a wedding.
Yeah. So I'm sure that band leader, whoever, was directed to say to them, since the producers knew that they hadn't gone to the fantasy suite, so maybe in their minds a little bit they were like, oh, should we have gone to the fantasy suite? Because I think there's pressure to go to the fantasy suite from the producers. And so, I think that they told that band leader to say, hey, tell them that, like, it looks like they're not in love when they're singing. Total BS. It was just total BS. Like, they were so fine. They were just struggling through a difficult song that freaking Adele has sang.
Well, it made us believe for a minute that maybe Jamie and Trevor have a shot at winning this, but,
Yeah, that too. It's like they had to, or else this episode would have been worse than it already was. It was boring. I did not like the 2 songs thing. They did not need to do 2 songs. I thought it was alternated.
I mean, if you want to go over the songs that they performed, I didn't like the Unchained Melody that they sang. I thought that was not good. It was a little too much of a fast-paced / different genre version of that song.
Who's saying that again? I'm sorry.
I said I thought it was the Unchained Melody. That's the Righteous Brothers.
Yeah, who's saying that one? Which of the?
That was Jamie and Trevor who sang that.
Also, I thought that to go off of that point, I thought that Speechless was a bad song for them to sing too, because neither of them have powerful voices. And if you've ever listened to like Shay from Dan and Shay, he's the lead singer of the band. He's like, he can just soar. Neither of them could do that. Especially on that song. Like that song, he's like, and like it's very high.
Yeah, you should hear me try to sing Speechless when it comes on the blend while I'm working every day.
Of course, it's on the blend.
It's a great song.
I think Trevor outshined Jamie in the performances today. I think, usually Jamie takes the lead, but Trevor hit some notes in there. Okay.
They were rough, though.
Caitlin, I think they're going to show some of Caitlin's season in that Bachelor special, but she says that Jamie and Trevor seem so in love, and that if they haven't gone to the fantasy suite, they need to go to one. What else? Then it's Chris and Bree. They have great performances. That one judge says he would pay money to see them, so they were very excited about that. Then they say it's time for their first ever live rose ceremony in front of a studio audience, but I don't know if you guys realize that they didn't give the roses until they were in the tour bus. So Chris Harrison lied. Anyway.
No. So.
Mallory, put it on the poll, but actually don't put it on the poll. Is Chris Harrison a bold-faced liar? All the Bachelor fans would be like, what are you doing? Why are you...
No, they might agree. But anyway,
person, he's a great guy.
So, do you want me to take over for the final 5 minutes? So, coming in second place, the couple, Jamie and Trevor. Jamie, who looks like the babysitter, who unwittingly lets the kids she's watching drink too much soda, and now they're bouncing off the walls, and Jamie is anxious after getting a text from the parents saying that their date night is ending ahead of schedule. And Trevor, who looks like a backup quarterback. And I swear to God, he looked more and more like a backup quarterback tonight than he did in any other episode.
Clipboard, ball cap, little earpiece thing.
Like, he looks like Tom Brady's backup. But
Right next to him.
the winners were Bree and Chris. Bree, who looks like an AP English teacher that students get scared of on the first day of class. And Chris, who I came up with this last night, and this is just the most generic looks like ever. Chris, who looks like a cologne sample collector.
Like the guy at the mall that's like, you want some cologne?
No, I mean
Like,
the guy
no, but they still spray it at you.
No. I mean the guy that subscribes to magazines and rips out all the cologne samples.
Oh, and goes to the cologne section at the mall to be like, let's try this, but never really buys anything. That's me.
Just make whatever generalization you want. So Bree
I
and
also
Chris,
feel like he could be like a worker at Macy's or Nordstrom that like you know.
I don't know why this poor guy we get cologne vibes off of. Like,
he's very well dressed. He's he's got the like.
We just think he's a good smelling man. Like I mean, if he wins, if he is the winner, him and his partner, if he is the winner in this, like, he has to be a good smelling man. Like,
Mallory, put on the poll. Is Chris from Listen to Your Heart probably a good smelling man?
Yeah. So they go to the tour bus. They get they give each other their roses for the umpteenth time in the season. They sing "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You." Great song.
Which the producers totally told them to sing.
Because they've been saying it 3 times this season.
Yeah, once in a Guitar Center on a piano, once on stage, and once in a tour bus. And then they fast forward. They are recording their song, which I think will hit adult contemporary radio in about a month. And they say that they're still madly in love. So
they're gonna have a bunch of. I could actually see them having a decent career where they're like their songs don't reach the top 50 on the Billboard 100 chart,
but you'll hear them on Delilah. That's what it'll be.
Man, they're made for it.
Oh, the way that song sounded, I said to myself, I'm going to hear that on Delilah next month.
Their album's already out.
Oh gosh.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, half of it is songs, is covers. But
they're not going to go to. They're not going to. They're not going to go on tour.
On tour because of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But in Bree's bio, they have she has chrisandbreemusic.com. So they're like a real duo. They're making this like a thing. Like, they're not going to do solo careers. They're making their music career a duo. So best of luck to them. I did some research. Jamie and Trevor are no longer together. She could not get over the fact that he cheated in previous relationships because she's been cheated on in every single one of her relationships.
All of her relationships that she's had in her 21-year life.
Yeah.
I'm so confused because she got over that
she got over it in the show. Well, that's the confusing part, but obviously she wanted to stay on the show. She released a song tonight. She stayed on for the clout. I get it. It's fine. Natasha and Ryan apparently still going strong. FaceTime every day. Good for them. Matt and Rudy trying to work things out. Sheridan and Julia were trying to work things out until episode 2 aired, and Sheridan couldn't get over the things that Julia was saying, and they are Sheridan has ghosted Julia.
Oh God, do I have to bring it back to Sheridan looks likes one last time?
Who was that guy? That Michael Todd?
Oh,
Michael Todd was on one episode, and he tried to who did he try to kiss? He tried to kiss
the really pretty
Vanna, and it was so awkward.
Look, Sheridan, just remember, Sheridan looks like the guy who shows up to open tryouts for the Norfolk Scope, looking to land a spot as a third-line defenseman in hopes of knocking up some prospects in the ECHL. And he also looks like Post Malone's younger brother, Christian rocker and anti-drug activist Pre Malone. So,
yes.
the guy
R.I.P.
that's on,
Sheridan.
the guy that's on the ad council that like looks cool, and he's like, you know what? I'm cool. I play rock music, but I also don't do drugs.
But he also looks like the guy who goes to the vape shop to get a recharge every day at 6 p.m.
Yes, he looks as anti-drug as he does also look pro-drug.
Best of luck to Sheridan in his career. He deserves better than Julia. Honestly, Julia and Brandon deserve each other. I know they're not together, but they're both, I don't know.
Yeah, why didn't Savannah and Sheridan get together? Like,
No, that would have been nice, but Savannah is like a 10 and Sheridan's like a 5.
for some women, Sheridan is like a 10.5. Some women really like Sheridan. Sheridan's like the ideal for like girls that really like hairy dudes.
What people on this season would you want to see on a future season of like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, or Bachelor?
100%
Savannah,
Jamie.
definitely. I want to see Savannah on Paradise, like when Paradise happens. I want to see Rudy on Paradise if it doesn't work with Matt. Who else?
I think Jamie could be the Bachelorette.
Yeah, Jamie's 21. She needs to
Yeah,
calm
but
down.
like in three or 4 years down the road, like Jamie could be the Bachelorette. I think she'd be great, or a contestant on somebody's season of The Bachelor, because
That's what I was thinking. I from the beginning I got big McKenna vibes off of
McKenna.
Jamie, mainly because she was the youngest of the group, and I honestly thought that she would be the overzealous candidate, the overzealous contestant on a season of The Bachelor. I think Trevor could be a Bachelor. Like the guy that
No, he's too much of a player. I don't know if you guys know who Reality Steve is, but he is like the biggest reality show spoiler person. He said
Wait, does he spoil stuff before it starts?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't put him on notifications, but I follow him, or do I just not follow him at all?
I don't have his
Oh,
notifications on. I just follow him. But he said that he got over 30 emails from different girls when they found out that Trevor was going to be on this show.
Was one of them?
It was
Trevor
guy in
is
American Idol.
playa.
He's a player. Also, let's just think that like the definite, clearly most talented people on that show did not win. The most talented. Rudy was probably the most talented on that show. Natasha was very good, and Ryan was very good. They just ruined that last performance. And Sheridan was quite good. I thought he was up there.
They were all moderately good performers. You know, the best together. I think
Bree and Chris are fine, but they're nothing special. They're just like so in love that you love to see it, but they don't have like amazing voices.
That's why they're gonna do really well on adult contemporary radio for 40-year-olds.
Yep. I mean,
40-year-old suburban parents are gonna love them. They're gonna love them.
Okay. But I mean, honestly, I think that I don't know if there will be a second season of this type of show, but honestly,
Are you gonna break some news here?
Well, no.
I
If
cannot.
there is, it needs more hip hop. I'm talking like couple versus couple rap battles. I'm talking like freestyles, all that. I'm here for
But
it.
I think we're at the point where the musical competition show should really integrate couples in a way, make it couple on couple battles or like duos or stuff. By the way, I've never heard. I don't even understand why American Idol and The Voice resumed their seasons with their remote productions. I just feel bad for the contestants this year on those shows.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get famous anymore.
Yeah, no one gets famous off of singing shows anymore since like
except for Bree and Chris,
the American Idol stuff.
Bree and Chris are going to do very well. Well, actually, I'll take that back. Do you guys know who Gabby?
I wouldn't call this would you call this a competitive singing show like American Idol and The Voice?
I don't know, but Gabby Barrett is a contestant who was recently, like 2 years ago, a year or 2 years ago, removed from finishing runner-up on American Idol, and she is blossoming into like a top 10 make
Lauren Alana was
yeah, but she was. They were still creating country stars. That was, or they were still creating music stars. That was Scotty McCreery, Lauren Elena. I think Philip Phillips was still left after that. Like he was gonna.
Phil Phillips was
That was like the last
had a
season I
couple
watched
good
of it.
years.
Yeah.
You still hear him on the blend every day. His 2 songs,
Home.
Home and
I
Gone,
forgot.
Gone, Gone.
Yeah. Those are the 2. Yeah, but the X Factor produced some people.
Fifth Harmony.
Direction,
X Factor
Fifth Harmony,
produced
Little
one.
Mix.
Fifth Harmony.
Well,
Okay.
One Direction was the British
Okay, hold
version,
on.
but
Hold
Fifth
on.
Harmony was the American.
Camila Cabello is good, but Fifth Harmony was a mistake. Other than
Yes,
creating
I agree.
Camila, it was not good for anything. Like that one song that's like work. Like I can't listen to that. It's
That's the Rihanna one. They had
Work From Home.
they had
Yeah.
like
You don't gotta go to work.
or that song would really work right now if they came out with it.
I saw Fifth Harmony's last performance live, Jingle Ball, whatever year that was, BB&T Center. The second they got off stage. What?
I can't believe you go to that.
I didn't go to it this year. It was my first time in 8 years going.
Isn't the chord terrible these days?
The lineups are terrible. It's just, I think it's like a middle school and high school thing. And now I'm in college. I don't go to it. It's just anyway, they right when they got off stage, they posted like a notes screenshot and that they're breaking up. And I was like, I just saw Fifth Harmony's last performance.
They'll be back in 20 years for an award show reunion song.
I hope
Because
not.
they're not on good terms like One Direction is.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like were the Backstreet Boys on good terms when they stopped, and they're back. I don't know if they ever stopped though. They just kind of went away. But the Backstreet Boys are all over country radio.
The Backstreet Boys had a banger a couple years ago. Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
All right. Anybody else got anything else to add to this lovely broadcast that went 20 minutes too long?
No, I think that does it.
Are we going to go over polls or no?
Polls, yes, Mallory.
All right. How could I forget?
Let me go to the polls. Refresh one more time.
I won't depart because there's only 4 of us.
Some Eagles fan-sided guy followed me on Twitter.
Good job.
Hunter Doyle.
Okay, did everyone see this coming? This was about Matt and Rudy. 76% yes. Any chance Rudy and Matt are still together after this? 69% no. But
Nice.
we found out that they are kind of still together. They're trying to make it work. Is it weird to Lady and the Tramp a donut? 66% but only. Performances. Brie and Chris, 96%, 49 votes. We got a comment on this one. Whoever said Jamie and Trevor must be sick, ... like real sick.
I'm going to throw up the you don't get the show thing.
No. Are we surprised? And this was referring to the winners. 88% no. Was there no update on Jamie and Trevor because they broke up? 95% probably. 64 votes. And then Jesse, when it aired in Arizona time, does Matt need to stop talking? 94% yes.
He just wouldn't stop saying, Rudy, I care about you. Rudy, I care about you. Rudy, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
I think he got his point across. When Rudy got
some things.
But when Rudy got in the car, she was like, after that conversation, I think that he does care about me. I was like, well, maybe because he said it like 20 times.
Yeah.
I always get 20 less votes than Mallory because, East Coast bias.
She didn't reciprocate the love. Whatever.
Is Chris and Bree's vibe off? 75% yes, 59 votes. Rudy said, what did you retweet, Jesse?
Man,
Rudy
I'm
said
really
that,
sad, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Do all pro athletes think that they are better than each other? 100% yes. Is Larry Bird on MJ's list? 55% yes, 45% no. Are the Monstars on MJ's list? 100% yes. Is Magic Johnson on MJ's list? 67% yes. Is Reggie Miller on the list? 75% yes. Are the 5 pizza delivery guys on the list? 100% yes.
How many votes do we get? How many votes do we get on that one?
10.
10. Okay,
The
that's
pizza
not bad.
toppings on MJ's list. 67% yes, 33% no.
Oh, speaking of which, did y'all see the DiGiorno tweet yesterday that said, "Of course it was delivery" or something like that?
Yeah, DiGiorno's still disgusting and
What?
Do you like
I'm a
DiGiorno?
huge frozen pizza guy.
Yeah, but DiGiorno's not good is the thing.
Oh, it is.
There are good
DiGiorno
frozen pizzas.
slaps. DiGiorno
No.
is great. I love DiGiorno.
Were you upset with the country club, how do you say this word, jargon in the NBC golf event? 100% yes. Does Flavor Flav need a chiropractor after wearing a giant clock for years? 60% yes. Florida question mark 50-50.
Never happened before.
Does Chris from Listen to Your Heart smell good? 75% yes, 25% no.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
All right, follow us on Twitter at the letter Y, and then So Serious Show, and we'll post another show in the next week or so.